Wrestle's Wrestle DX plus Alpha. We're here writing for another episode. That's Kev, I'm Kristian, and we're here. We're talking shit, and we're talking gaming, we're talking wrestling, and we hope you're here for the ride. So what we are talking about, we're talking about the Mae Young Classic, and we're getting carried away already with the conversation, so we want to hold it back and bring you in as well. So, dude, what is happening with the Mae Young Classic? When did this start? Because as far as I know, it's already been pre-recorded, and it's heading out on the WE Network now, and they're having a number of, is it 8 shows, 10 shows?
I'm not quite sure. It's quite a few shows. I mean, they do about 3 or 4 matches per show.
Okay.
And they always save, like, the best match of the night till the end, which is understandable.
Yeah, of course, you want to push over your main event. So we're talking about the legend, that's Miko Satomura, who, of course, is Yoshipuro in Japan. The style of female heavy strong style wrestling. She is an absolute utter legend. As you said, that she appeared in WCW. She had a bit of a run there in terms of her American performance. We haven't really seen her since. But when the Mae Young Classic 2018 was announced, she was the big surprise, because no one thought a woman of that age would come back and let him be kicking ass. So tell me what happened this week with Killer Kelly. Tell the story.
Oh, Killer Kelly, who's a fairly decent wrestler in herself. I would say, like, she came onto the show. She looked like a level 10 competitor. And Satomura just went, I see that you're a level 10. I see you're good. I'm a level 13. Let's kick this up.
Oh. So how did the flow of the match go, man? Tell the story.
Plenty of submission attempts, plenty of kicks. But you could see Killer Kelly land her kicks, and it's like, yes, I've hit them. And Satomura kicked her back, and it was, she just hit me with a bat. She hit me with a metal bat that was not hollow. Oh, the pain.
So who went over on this show? Because that was the main event of this particular episode, yeah? Because there was 6 matches?
It was. There was
4.
3 other matches early on in the night. Nothing really to write home about. I mean, Rhea Ripley, who was on last year's tournament, she was quite a, bubbly, angelic, look at me, I'm all happy, smiley. This year she's come back as like some rock biker chick, and she's just pissed off.
Good. Want to see that. I was, it's weird because I know I'm aware of the Mae Young Classic. I really haven't looked into who's competing, which is really bad for me. I really quite feel not quite on the ball with that. But I saw Edge and Kristian's podcast this week, and they had Chelsea Green on there, who of course competed for NXT for a while. Went away. I think she was in Mae Young Classic last year, and then she obviously wrestled it all in as the hot mess. Her character she portrays it is she worked the bars across Canada. So it's what happens to the ladies at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when they can't walk straight and they're all over the place, with a split personality kind of thing going on there. And WE are looking to snap that up quite quickly, because I guess the character's huge. So is there anyone who in the Mae Young Classic that you've seen so far stands out, who's actually going to join WE full time?
Rhea Ripley, I think, is still a signee from last year. I know WWE is very high on Tegan Knox, who performed in the very first match. Satomura, I think, will be around, but I think she'll suffer the same fate as Tajiri. Classed as too old and go back to Japan.
Yeah. But do you remember when Tajiri came in, right? You know, when he was like, when he came to WWE after his ECW stint, when he came in as like William Regal's T-Boy. And then that was the gimmick. That was the gimmick for almost a year. And it's like,
no, it wasn't. That's
really?
The thing. It wasn't actually that long. It was amazing. It seemed to last that long, but it wasn't. And then Tajiri begged for a match, and then the Regal put him out there in a match against Crash Holly. And Regal was there at ringside, completely selling the fact it was like, oh my God, what can this guy do? And he absolutely decimated poor Crash Holly. Crash Holly took some kicks from every angle going, and Regal was out there going, oh.
That's funny. Which is one of those guys who I showed Jace had never seen like the 2000s ECWs So we watched. I think I said like last week we watched like Massacre on 34th Street and like Hardcore Heaven 2000, where obviously Tajiri and Michael Whitmer versus the FBI matches were there, and he'd never seen one before. And after that, it was just like Tajiri's a fucking legend.
Yeah. I'll tell you one that you really do want to look out for, and I can't remember the date offhand. I'll find it out later. Tajiri versus Psychosis. It was on a Hardcore TV episode. It's one of my favorite matches. Tajiri absolutely tortured that man for about 20 minutes.
Awesome.
He absolutely decimated that poor man. I mean, the guy went for a flying wheelbarrow, and Tajiri just put his foot out and kicked him in the nose.
Oh. Well,
Tajiri just absolutely decimated that poor man.
Because I was surprised. I say surprised now. Let's hold on that thought for a second. So, the next match I really saw of Tajiri, he had a match against Great Muta 2004 in New Japan. And that was brilliant. I think that was on your hard drive once. And that was cool. And then I never saw Tajiri kind of compete again. I'm not sure what he was doing, but I guess perhaps I didn't look out for him. And then, of course, he appeared on 205 Live last year.
No, it wasn't 205 Live. It wasn't last year. He did the Cruiserweight tournament back in 2016 for a few episodes. I think he got to the second round. And Tajiri appeared a couple of times on NXT. The last time that I know he appeared on any kind of WWE program was an NXT episode, and he was teamed with Akira Tozawa, and they challenged DIY for the NXT tag titles very late December 2016, and it was a fantastic match.
I can only imagine. I'm going to go find that. So W Network, so we're talking about late 2016, you say?
It was probably the very last NXT of 2016.
I'm going to go hunt that down and check that shit out. That sounds awesome.
It was fantastic.
Man, Tajiri just became an entire role of conversation. So,
That's because Tajiri is a damn good wrestler.
So do you think he's going to end up in these Legends wrestlers, like a Hall of Famer down the line?
You know what? I hope so. He had a damn good career in the WWE. His ECW career was damn good.
Yeah.
His body of work's always been very good. And I would say he's probably considered a legend in Japan.
Yeah. That reminds me, so has any ECW guys become WWE Hall of Famers? Besides like Bully Ray and...
I'd have to check it out.
Yeah, besides like Bully Ray and Devon.
Well, the Dudley Boys was always going to. I mean,
it goes without saying.
The most prolific tag team in professional wrestling. They have held every title going. I mean, even I know it's under the WWE umbrella. They still had the WCW tag titles.
Yeah.
They had the EW tag titles. 2 of the 3 WWE tag titles. The NWA tag titles. The TNA tag titles.
Yeah, they got the NWA ones the last night it became.
Oh, and the IWGP tag titles as well, of course.
Yeah. So they really have done it all and done everything. So yeah, I'm trying to think that it has any of the other ECW alumni reached that pinnacle. But you know the craziest thing is I think they're all still wrestling. I really do. I mean,
well, Van Dam got seriously injured and his career looked to be over. I think he's wrestled one more match since. But I can't imagine it being too fantastic now. I mean,
no.
And I'm a massive RVD fan.
But RVD always reminded me of one of those guys who appeared to be able to do everything and never get injured, ever. A bit like AJ, really.
Yeah, there's very few wrestlers. I mean, there's only 2 wrestlers I can think of that were never injured. That's The Miz and Chris Jericho. Neither of them 2 have ever been injured. Not ever.
Wow. Because I saw Jericho's doing his DDPY with DDP, doing all his yoga stuff. And it says that it's extended his career hugely. So I can't imagine what kind of effect that's going to have. But yeah, you're right. I don't think Jericho's ever actually been off injured. He's either touring with Fozzy or he's in WE or New Japan. Or even Impact now.
Well, whether he's on Impact, we'll have to see. But No, Jericho's never been injured. I mean, Jericho's had a lengthy career
Yeah,
through Canada, through Japan, through WCW, through WWE, and then all his various stints all over now, and he's never been injured.
that's crazy. Yeah, but the guy's in fantastic shape. He's. I think he also reminds me a bit of the Undertaker. He's always willing to reinvent his character to stay fresh.
Yes, he's always believed in that. I mean, he comes out with some crazy stuff and that. I mean, the guy got a list over for Christ's sakes.
List, I know.
Although we didn't get razzle dazzle over, thank God.
No. But
That was a thing for a little while, and just nah, that's not working.
I'm actually really digging Jericho's current character, where he's this he's the Clockwork Orange guy. You know, he's this utterly vicious guy who's just out there to beat the fuck out of you. And that match with Naito was just like absolute utter punishment for. I would not want to have been on the receiving end of that at all. But then he popped up at All In, you know, dressed as Pentagon. I'm assuming challenging Kenny Omega for the IWGP World Heavyweight title on American soil. So I'm not quite sure how Vince must have felt about that, because of course that was the unwritten rule, wasn't it? He'll do anything but not in America.
Yeah, but he still didn't have a match, and it was to help put over his Jericho Cruise.
Yeah, it was, because that was really the only thing that was actually announced, was the Jericho Cruise.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. There's nothing been said about being in Impact.
No, I don't think.
And even then, that's technically he could do Impact because it's not on American soil now.
No, because Impact's now filmed in Ontario. Is it? Yeah, filmed.
That's
so
right,
north of the
Canada.
border. Yeah, but I guess that's because maybe its producers are all from Canada. So
And also the fact that like it costs a lot less to produce in Canada than it does in the US.
yeah, it makes a huge difference, especially when it's the financial side of things. I mean, the Impact Zone, I don't know what they call the arena, does look okay. You know, the matches are good. The whole thing of Moose this week turning heel, you know, he's been face the entire time he's been there, is pretty big. I quite like the guy. The fans loved him. Well, they now hate him because he's now teaming with Austin Aries and turned his back on who did he? Matt Sydal? I know he kind of turned heel and then obviously joined with Austin Aries, and it was pretty over. The fans were just like, no way, really? So Moose is getting over.
Sometimes, it's like when Becky Lynch turned heel on Charlotte just at SummerSlam. I think the fans are just so ready sometimes for a change in the character. To think that Becky Lynch has turned heel, it means that she's got a fresh leash.
Yeah.
And she needs it.
Yeah, and that does happen.
She was the first, she was a early pick for the SmackDown brand split. She was their first women's champion over on SmackDown, and she lost the title, and then she treaded water for about a year.
Yeah. So I did manage to catch up after we last spoke. Raw, SmackDown. How did the Bella Twins appear on both Raw and SmackDown when they're supposed to be brand split? How does that work?
Oh, you know what? They're the Bella Twins, so they can do what they want, can't they? I mean,
I was just like, how the are they going to set up on NXT next?
They've probably got the same deal that John Cena does. John Cena's allowed to appear on both shows because he's a free agent.
Yeah, that's an interesting gimmick. He's such a free agent. Maybe you should turn up on 205 Live, wasn't it? You know, we've got to talk about John Cena, right? So have you seen John Cena's new finishing move?
Is it that back fist to the side of the head type thing?
It's just the back fist. Yeah.
Oh, yes, I have.
The sixth move of
God,
doom.
Why?
You know, I can't help but work out. I'm trying to work out whether it's genius or
I think he's lost his mind. I mean, the last thing I saw John Cena on was quite literally a website the other day selling Heffy bags.
Really?
I am John Cena. I am a 16-time world champ, level with Ric Flair, and I sell plastic bags.
I guess John Cena, like you said, has done 16 world titles. He's done everything. You know, what is there to do when you're that famous? And your gimmick is that you do 5 moves, and everyone calls it the 5 moves of doom. So you then invent a 6th one. You know, I think actually it's a way to be refreshed, because the fans are going to hate the guy more now because it's so silly. but actually, it's going to go over because everyone's going to pop for it.
You know what? I think it's just something he's going to do on live shows. I hope he doesn't actually do it on proper TV. Also, the fact that John Cena, he's not a horrible wrestler.
No, he's
and
not.
he's proved that in more recent time. Especially when he took that US title and he decided that he was going to do the open challenge that a few other guys have done since, but no one did it like Cena did. And I can understand why he did it. It's because he wanted to work with the young guys, and he had some fantastic matches.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Cena is great talent. You know, he does the things. He does all his charity work. He does all the house shows. He does his stuff. And he's certainly earned his money with WWE. He's been their marquee character for what, 13, 14 years?
Something like that. He's been a long time. And to think at one point they was going to release him.
I mean, I was looking back through my archive the other day, and I found like a match from like 2002 on Heat where he teams with Rico, and he fights Shelton Benjamin and Brock Lesnar, and Rico's the one who wins.
It's crazy, isn't it, when you come across old matches like that. Speaking of which, as well, the WWE 2K19 game, when that comes out, the main showcase is about Bryan Daniel.
Oh, really?
Bryan Danielson? Daniel Bryan. And it actually does have their match between John Cena wearing some awful coloured trousers against a Bryan Danielson character on Velocity, and that's actually in the game.
Wow, that's I didn't know that. That's interesting. That's cool.
Yeah, I saw that and I thought that is a nice touch. That's nice. I like that.
Yeah, that's a nod to real fans who've gone, I remember those days. like us. We remember that match. Who watched Velocity?
It's like when other now massive stars appeared on Velocity and Jacked and Heat, like AJ Styles versus the Hurricane on. Oh, was it Jacked? I think
it was Jacked. Yeah.
And Samoa Joe versus S.A. Rios again on Jacked, I think it was.
Yeah, they put that match up on the what do they call it? The Hidden Gems the other week. Yeah.
And speaking of Hidden Gems, if you haven't seen it, there's an episode of Heat where it's the APA against Public Enemy, and it's the episode where the APA run Public Enemy out of the WWE, literally.
Yeah, quite literally, because
they go to town on the Public Enemy because apparently they didn't like the finish. They were too big for the WWE, and Ron Simmons and Bradshaw just absolutely beat the Jesus out of them.
Yeah, they really went
with steel steps and everything. Even the ref was like, "What is going on here?" He's calling a quit to the match, and there's tables being unleashed. And Ron Simmons at one point grabs one of them and just rams him into them steps with everything in him. It's a brutal match.
So, what did Public Enemy do after?
Sorry, what was that?
What did Public Enemy do after that? I haven't seen them.
I think at that time they had gone to WCW where they had a little bit more success. And then one of them died, and I think the other one just didn't know what to do because they was like really close, good friends. And I think the other one just died as well. Yeah. I don't think either of them were here.
So the one guy I've been liking recently in terms of watching Ring of Honor lately is the Hurricane. You know, Drago Hamilton has returned in his Hurricane. In his the character who, when he's not the Hurricane, you know, when he's the interviewer backstage with his hat and he's kind of doing the Clark Kent thing, and now he's doing that in the back of Ring of Honor, and that's been pretty quite cool to see. So it's only gonna be a matter of time before he pops out and does something crazy.
Yeah, I thought that we might have used him since they brought him back for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, not at all.
That's a shame, but I know he doesn't really mind.
No.
And with any luck, maybe one day they'll bring him back for a Hall of Fame thing or trainer, backstage guy.
Yeah, I mean, so we're talking about some other guys like Rey Mysterio. I'm pretty sure he's got a Hall of Famer. You know, he's on the list. But when and how it happened, I don't know. And all these other guys from that era, are they not worthy of a Hall of Fame yet?
It's difficult to say. I mean, Chris Jericho should be in a Hall of Fame, but he's not done.
No.
Rey Mysterio, if Rey Mysterio is not in the WWE Hall of Fame when it's time, then no one else really deserves to go in. He is the most prolific, most iconic luchador in the world. He is the Hulk Hogan of Mexican wrestling.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And he's put over quite so many guys as well. He's elevated guys with him, so and that's awesome for to actually happen.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter who he goes against. He has tremendous matches, and that guy seems to have turned the clock back. He is faster now than he was in his later WWE run.
I think when you looked at Rey Mysterio in WWE, I think he looked too bulky. He looked like he was carrying too much muscle mass, and that is completely trimmed down now. He's a lot leaner. He looks a lot smoother. He looks a lot healthier.
I think it's just he felt the pressure with being a heavyweight champion.
Yeah, he looked like he was jacked as fuck as well. But now he's back to being jacked, but lean.
Yeah. And speaking of luchadors, have you heard the possible news that Major League Wrestling posted on their Twitter? Phoenix and Pentagon, they're holding their belts, and it says
NXT background, yeah.
these will be leaving soon, and the fans will be shocked at what will be next, spelt without an E.
I did see that, yeah, with a yes, NXT. It'd be interesting. Of course, they're brothers. For those who didn't know, Pentagon, of course, just come off All In. It's huge. It's the current Lucha Underground champion in terms of its television product. Well, again, it's pre-recorded, but it's current time. It's he's the Lucha Underground champion. Phoenix, he's going through this whole Rey Mysterio kind of revival. Everyone loves him. He literally is the current Rey Mysterio in terms of Mexico, and this guy's touring the world right now. In fact, I saw him at a WCPW show not 6 months ago in Nottingham. So, are WWE bound? Probably. Are they going to keep them Are they going to put them as a tag team? Are they going to have them separate? Because I can see them throwing, say, Phoenix to 205 Live and having Pentagon join NXT.
Well, they're both very talented. I mean, you could go down the whole brother route, but both of them are so different that they could get away with being completely independent, like they've done with the Hardys.
Yeah, I'm glad for that, actually. I'm glad they've kept them apart, but then they drift them back together every so often. And Pentagon,
possibly not any further with Matt's
his current
lower
situation.
back and his pelvis fusing together.
Although they're going to have to decide on Pentagon's name, because everywhere I've ever seen the guy, he's got a completely different name. And even All In, when he had a completely different name on his tag, and on his announcement, and on the screen, they still called him as Pentagon. And I think they were giving it, no, he's just Pentagon, we know him as Pentagon, we're going to call him that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it makes any difference to them. I mean, it's not like they're a major promotion and he's appeared on the show or anything.
No. Because I guess he's only Pentagon in Elite Underground, which is a TV show as opposed to a wrestling show. You have to watch it if you haven't seen it already.
Yeah, and speaking of things you need to be looking at, All In.
Oh man,
shall we just cover those results?
Yeah, I think we should cover the high spots. I guess the one I looked at All In as an overall show, I think it was a great exhibition of what is possible if other guys get together. I don't think you can consider it as being an epoch kind of continuation of stories. But you saw a lot of a combination of the ending of stories, like the whole Joey Ryan thing. That was good with the whole gimmick with the walking penises. That was fucking. But it was entertaining.
Although, I think Jim Cornette about for a hissy fit. I think Cornette lost his mind.
I haven't seen that, but I know I need to hear that. Jim Cornette's reaction. But I'm sure.
Although Jim Cornette has praised All In as a whole, but we all know how he hates Joey Ryan, and the fact that some fan tweeted him about it, and he says the fact that you're telling me about a combination of a storyline with Joey Ryan ended with a mass of penises walking to the ring and leaving. It just says everything about modern wrestling today. So.
But you know what? Everybody in the audience was smiling. I mean, even I was smiling because of how stupid it was. But it was over because, hey, Can't go wrong with that. Yeah, the over the budget battle royal was pretty fun. Billy Gunn was in there. I think Bubba Ray was a surprise entrance to that as Bully Ray. Again, there was Flip Gordon was in there. Who else was in that?
No, Flip Gordon was not in there. Flip Gordon was Chico El Luchador.
Yes, Chico.
Chico El Luchador. Cheeseburger was in there. Austin Gunn was in there. Moose.
Yeah, that was a good bunch of guys from a lot of different companies altogether.
The Hurricane was in there.
He was, yeah.
Jimmy Jacobs as the zombie bride.
Yes.
What was the name of the woman? The powerlifting looking woman. I can't remember her name. I'm sorry about that. Grace. Grace.
Yes.
She did well for herself.
So Chico won, which turned out to be Flip Gordon. So that meant he got an ROH World Title shot on the night. That led into another story, which was again it was a lot of fun, I guess. If you don't watch Being the Elite, I guess it doesn't make any sense. And I did see Jim Cornette post that if you haven't seen Being the Elite, you wouldn't know what was going on with Jay Lethal. His current storyline on that particular YouTube series is every time he gets tapped on the back, he becomes one of the mega powers. He's become the Ultimate Warrior.
Black Machismo from TNA.
Yes, so he literally became the Macho Man. And he came out actually on that night with Randy Puffer, which is Macho Man's real life brother, and they had a great T-shirt on that says, brothers to another mother, and it couldn't have been funnier. And they had a really kind of interesting exhibition match where Jay Lethal did go over as still world champion, and it didn't need to change, but it was a lot of fun actually watching him as the Macho Man and getting tapped and becoming back to himself again and having a serious match and then became silly again. It was actually a lot of fun to watch.
Also on the card, Bob, the 0 Hour, SoCal and Censored went over the Briscoe brothers in a pretty damn good match.
Yeah, so what else? Because the hour wasn't the 0 hour. Huge because, of course, that went out to 77 million people, potentially in America, who had access to that show because it's like the mainstream equivalent of ITV. So a lot of people watched. A lot of people watched it, the free show, before catching up with the show as part of the pay-per-view. The pay-per-view price actually had a bit of contention. I don't know if you know about this. It's kind of my fault. I was the one who kind of highlighted it to Fight TV. And I'll share the pictures up here when this goes to post-editing. So on the Fight TV app on the phone in the UK, it was $16.99. My mate who lives down in Felixstowe, he posted a picture from Fight TV app. And it says it was $38.99. So we're like,
wow,
what? That's a fucking difference in price. That's more than double. So I was like, I'm buying this now, and I'm glad I did. So we tweeted Fight TV, and they're like, oh, this is a bit strange. We haven't seen this before, and they shared it out a bit. Cody then was in this conversation, and he's like, can you sort this out? And then it came back to my friend. He says, no, $38.99 is the real price. So I'm glad I snapped it up at $16.99.
And then they went to put it on New Japan World.
I know. the next day.
Although not live, but they did put it on the following day, I do believe.
They did, yeah. And it's on Honor Club as well. But yeah, how awesome is that? And what a good show it was. First match was the first match of the actual night. I guess
Matt Cross versus MFJ.
Yeah, good match. And Matt Cross, I hadn't seen him as Matt Cross for a while. Though we do see him, of course, in Lucha Underground as the man from the open road who guy wears a mask and is a black-headed luchador. Good quality match, actually. Good storytelling in there. We saw a lot of indie guys that they wanted to put over. But the one thing I want to talk about when it comes to All In actually is the production quality. That was absolutely solid. Sound quality, the stage, the lighting, the rig, and it was top to down, just an absolute professional show. And the commentating was probably the best I've heard.
The one thing I would call it on is the commentary at different times on what I watched it on. The commentary early on in the night, the volume kept dropping and raising for a good match and all.
Okay. Can't say I spotted that.
It might have been just while
I know when they swapped out, because they swapped commentators a few times to bring them in for certain matches. For the women's four-way match, which had Chelsea Green. Who else was in that match? Because that was so good.
Britt Baker,
Yes.
Madison Rayne, and the winner of the match would be Tessa Blanchard, who,
Yeah.
of course, is fantastic.
Yes, what a talent she is, and Ricochet's wife, and you got Adam Cole's wife in there. So,
Yeah, I mean, Tessa Blanchard, she can't say anything different other than the fact that Mae Young Classic last year put her on the map.
yeah,
She had, in my opinion, possibly the match of the entire tournament.
yes,
And it was a first round match.
There was an interesting comment that Don Callis made. Where he says, "There's a crazy blur of the lines happening between companies here, that we're going to say what we want," and that was good to see actually. You see talent that literally dream matches you wouldn't ordinarily expect to see, such as that 4-way women's match.
Yes, a lot of very talented women in that match.
Yes.
Meltzer gave it, I think it was 3.25 stars. I felt that it deserved more than that.
Yeah, there was a few spots that didn't perhaps work out, but the story they told in the ring, 4-ways are always hard to actually to do, let alone call. So I enjoyed it. It was good fun. Went to a bit of a sticky finish, but lots of near falls. And
Yes,
Tess went over.
I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
And I still believe it deserved better than 3.25 stars. I can understand why at some points, but definitely Tessa Blanchard as the Impact Women's Champion right now going over made perfect sense.
Yeah, it did. So what came after in terms of All In?
Oh, don't forget the match before that and after Matt Cross was Christopher Daniels going over Stephen Amell, who, in my opinion, definitely should have gone over. It really annoys me when the celebrities that they pull in, WWE's terrible for that, the celebrities go over the wrestler.
Yeah. I guess that draws in fans, I guess. But that promo he shot, that 10-minute promo on being the Elite was just, that drew me in. You know, I was sucking into that. I was going, it's a good promo. And then the match I found myself talking about with two or three guys at work was, what's going to happen with the Stephen Amell match? What's going to happen with Arrow versus Christopher Daniels? I'm like, how crazy was that? I guess he sold the pay-per-view for me.
He did well. I mean, the thing is, it's like Tessa Blanchard in the Mae Young Classic last year. It's victory and defeat.
Yeah, of course it is.
Stephen Amell hung with Christopher Daniels, and you could see that he was adequately trained for what he was to do. But it's the little things when you know that he's not ring savvy.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's the little things of being completely comfortable and knowing where you are at all times. You could see him going, right, I need to do that. Okay, now I've done that. Now I need to go and do this. You could see the wheels turning.
Yeah. And he did the Van Terminator, across the coast-to-coast dropkick.
He did, but if you noticed, Christopher Daniels had to lean into it because he could see he was missing it.
I know the table spot and the elbow drop to the outside. Good spot. I kind of see it coming with Daniels kind of rolling onto it, but yeah, that black padding isn't very thick, you know. That was an elbow drop, and he did go elbow through it into the floor.
Yes, and going through a table can't be fun.
No, but good match though. Overall good fun. There was
yes.
What rolled in after that? I tell you what,
do you know what? It surprised me how early Cody Rhodes versus Nick Ados was. It was the fourth match on the main card. Was it eight matches on the main card, and it was 9 matches, and it was the fourth match.
Yeah, that's true. I think it actually came after the women's match.
No. Well, yes, it did. Sorry, my mistake. It was Matt Cross, MFJ, Christopher Daniels, Stephen Amell, the women's match, NWA title match. Then it was the street fight.
Okay,
ROH title match.
Go back to the Cody match with Nick Aldis. It was probably the biggest build-up match they've been talking and shouting about. NWA being resurrected by Steve Corgan and doing its whole tour of the world, 30 pounds of gold tour. That's been really quite successful. Cody putting over his the belt that he hasn't had. It was his dad's belt. You know, it was the biggest investment in terms of their longest term story. Yet actually, the match was pretty sound, except for a moment that made absolutely no sense when it appeared that Hebner actually called an X to the camera that something actually had gone wrong.
Do you know what that was? If you notice, it took Cody Rhodes forever to blade.
Yeah.
Because the camera, he popped up and it's like he lost the blade. And he popped up and he looked round. And I don't know either he didn't cut himself deep enough, or he couldn't find the blade and he was confused. Because the cameraman come round in and he just like...
Yeah.
And then went back under the table again. It was an agonizingly long time.
Yeah, it was just a bit awkward going, well, you could have probably handled that a little bit better. You know, everyone here is a professional. Perhaps you just go, you know what, we'll just drop this and carry on. Because the match, apart from that, was pretty sound.
Yes. It was a pretty decent match.
Yeah, over went. I didn't think, actually, they were going to give it to Cody, but I kind of knew they did. I thought they wouldn't give it to Nick because Nick technically is the NWA kind of representative and is doing the tours around, as where Cody's doing his own thing. And I thought, well, perhaps they're not going to hand it over to him for the time being, so they can build this belt up a bit more. But no, Cody winning made sense. It's his show and it was his dad's belt, so yeah, it all made sense in the end.
I'm sure that Cody will probably appear on IWGP, New Japan, possibly with the title, because they don't really discriminate against belts being shown.
No, I think actually that helps New Japan's product occasionally as well. I mean, Dalton.
Yeah, I think it's we're both helping each other here.
Yeah, I remember Dalton Castle's match against. Who did he first? Who did he fight? Wrestle Kingdom. That was Jay Lethal. That was sweet as. that was like a third match off the main event. So at Wrestle Kingdom. So how can you go wrong with that? That's like Jay Lethal, Dalton Castle wrestling in front of like 30,000 fans or something crazy.
Yeah, there's been a few times the Ring of Honor title has been defended and challenged for at Wrestle Kingdom. I mean, Adam Cole defeated Kyle O'Reilly in 2016, I do believe it was, for the title.
Yeah, Adam Cole, New Japan. They'd have thought.
For the ROH title. It's just weird. And then literally a few months later, they're now buddies.
Yeah, great stuff. I guess the other matches on the card, you know, Carter and Marty Scurll, that was really good. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was probably the best match of the card. And then, obviously, the main event kind of ran over time, so that was a bit compressed. And they managed to extend one more minute with the pay-per-view provider, and then they finished with 3 seconds to spare before it went off the air for the pin, because every match ran over. But, you know, I think as the Woodstock of wrestling, I think it was a great event, so...
Yes, there was some fantastic moments on there, some silliness, you know, stuff to make everybody happy and laugh. And
yeah, you got a bunch of guys.
Match was great. Kenny Omega and Pentagon.
Yeah,
I mean, New Japan's world champion against Lucha Underground's world champion.
I think, but neither come out with the belt, and I did think that Kenny Omega typically has some kind of spectacular entrance. That didn't happen, and I was a bit like, oh, okay. But hey, he wrestles. You know, he wrestled a Kenny Omega match, and I'm trying to sell getting that one-winged angel up. That was good. You know, he couldn't hit it, and then eventually, yeah, I managed to pull it out of the bag and still get over the win.
Yeah.
So man, I'm looking down our little list down here. So you said that 2K19's had its second confirmation this week of its. Is it now all the stars have been revealed?
No. I certainly hope not. There's still a lot of guys that are still missing. If you go down onto the game section, 2018, there's the full roster. That again, I've added to it that the ones that they've added to, and they are now in bold in the table.
Okay, we're going down. This list is long, dude.
Yes. I mean...
If anyone could see this this page that we're looking at, it's just crazy. There's so much content on this. You've put a lot of time into this. But yet
there's still so many guys that have been in previous games that still aren't in there. I mean, still not announced is Tommaso Ciampa, Nikki Cross, Paul Heyman, the Von Erichs, Kevin Nash, Eddie Guerrero, Earthquake, DDP, British Bulldog. I mean, it's a lot more legends
Yeah.
as well. But from past years, I mean, Batista's still not been announced. Beth Phoenix, I can't see how they would not put Beth Phoenix in there now after she's being used a lot more.
Yeah, I'd probably expect her to turn up in a DLC pack.
Yeah, it's very possible. But then again, she was in a DLC package last year, and they tend to, if you was in a DLC package the year before, the following year, you
Tends to
are
be, yeah.
in the game.
Yeah.
They've done that for the last few games now.
Yeah, because it was
That's why the Von Erichs are still in there. Because they was in the 2016, was it 2000, 2K17, and they was in last year's. So they may be in this year's. It's possible.
Yeah, they might squeeze them in this time around. So, any ones that you would expect is going to be in there that not?
Well, like I said, so far Tommaso Ciampa's still not been announced.
What's
The
he in
Dudley
last
Boys,
year's?
which I'm sure they're going to do the Hall of Fame thing, so they'll add Goldberg, Hillbilly Jim, Ivory, and Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, dude, that's what it'll be. It'll be a Hall of Fame DLC pack.
Yeah, they have done that for the last couple of years.
That's where they're going to stick.
Buddy
them.
Murphy's still not in there, which guts
That's-
me because I want that to happen, because right now I am a massive fan of Buddy Murphy and anything he does. Candice LeRae, she's been used quite a bit this past year.
She has been, yeah.
Maria. Now, I know Maria's not been used very well or at all because being pregnant and stuff. But there's been a lot of other talent that have made it into the game and barely even been on TV. Of course, Mike Bennett, Mike Nellis, as they build him in WWE. So far, he's not been named. Kurt Angle, Lita, The Rock, Shawn Michaels, Stephanie, Austin, Sting, Warrior, Vince.
See,
None of these guys are in there yet
See,
either. And
that's
Bobby Lashley, of
that's a
course,
Legends
which
pack,
I'm sure
isn't it?
they'll be in there.
that's another Legends pack there, isn't it? That's another DLC pack, that is. That's another
There is a
1999.
lot of legends from previous games that still have not been announced. I mean, there's not even Bret Hart or Andre the Giant.
That's a 1999 package, that is.
Don't tell them that.
It all happened, man. The amount of stuff they lock off and go, well, it's already there. Oh, we'll just put it in a little DLC pack. They want to play with it. And they'll lock the moves from the creator moves list, so their mannerisms aren't in there unless you buy the DLC pack. So you can't make them, and they've done that before, cheeky bastards. Or
Do you know, I've not really known, because anytime I buy it, I always buy it with a super bumper pack, because it's the one game I know I'm going to play. It's the one game I know I'm going to pre-order.
I found myself since 2014. I've watched the trend now. Me and Jason are pretty much on the ball with this. If you leave it 6 weeks to the first week of November, the price always drops to $29.99 every time.
Yeah, I think I might hold off this year.
And that's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm going to buy it, but their pattern is $29.99, and then this year, 2K18 went down to $19.99. So I bought it out the first week of December. Although, of course, the game came out end of October, but I didn't get around to buying it until December, and it was $19.99 a game, brand new. And I'm like, yoink, I'll take that at that price. So I kind of glad I hold off buying it. And 2K18 is probably the better one they've released in more recent years. They're lacking some features, but hey. But I did actually buy the DLC.
I've always bought the DLC. As long back as, I think it's, 2009, when they first started doing a bit of DLC.
Yeah. So how much do you think they're gonna? Do you think they're gonna be locking characters away behind paywalls? You know, like the last 2 years, you had to use the virtual currency to buy in-game characters and in-game moves. 2K are notorious. If you look on their NBA games and their other titles that are on the PlayStation Store and the Xbox Store, it's all virtual currency you have to physically buy with real money. And it appears, in my opinion, we're just one step away from that actually being the case. That stuff is actually locked away behind real money again. And I'm just like, I'm not happy about that. So it's why I'm waiting for some reviews this time around.
Yeah. The thing is, like I said, I've always bought it earlier. It's the one game a year I pre-order. So I've never really known whether the characters are in the game or they're not, because my hard drive's massive and filled with lots and lots of other games. So
Other fine games though, we got Fire Pro Wrestling finally getting a UK release, 16th of September. Even though it's already got a US release and a Japan release and a European release, but the UK getting it in 16th of September.
what is that going to be on? Is that going to be on the Xbox? Is it PlayStation only?
PlayStation PC. Oh, it's already on the
I'm
PC.
cool with that.
It's
on
on
PlayStation.
it's already on the PC, but it's coming to PlayStation.
Yeah.
The PC version apparently gets the console overhaul that the PlayStation's got in Japan and America. It has a new user interface, and all the new Japan guys get added. So
It'd be nice if it's just in English. That'd be special.
yeah, Fire Pro in English. When was the last Fire Pro actually released in England? It was like, I don't know.
Ever? Oh, that really awful one on the 360.
That doesn't count. That's shit.
I think maybe the DS releases. Not really sure if they were UK release.
No, I've actually got that. I do have the DS releases. They were good. Yeah, I got Fire Pro Wrestling Returns, which was the one for the PS2, which works on my PS3. Yeah, and that was 2007. So I think that was the last Fire Pro as it was. So they are going to be our only two wrestling games this time round. And I guess that brings us as a bit of a nice segue really into our wrestling game fortune and what we've been pushing out of the last few episodes, which is probably the most popular parts of our show is gaming, where we've been talking about the different generations of wrestling games. But I guess the topic we've put in this thread this time actually is something we discussed and discovered last time round, which was how often have women appeared on the front cover of a wrestling game? Because we were talking about the fact that Charlotte does not appear on the front cover of 2K19, which I think is a bit of a disappointment, really, having a male and a female counterpart on the front cover. And so when we were looking back and putting the covers on the video post-editing the last one, we found that Day of Reckoning had female front covers of Trish and Stacy Keibler. And then we found some more where females have been the front cover character of a wrestling game. So shall we start there as a good part? Because you've obviously done the research here and put some good ones down here.
Yeah, it took me quite some time. I went through every game cover that I could think of, dating back to the 80s. And I made a list of everybody that was on the covers and where the women wrestlers were. And it's not a bad list, but when you consider the wrestling games go back to about 84 all the way up to present day, it's not the hugest list. And the Day Reckoning ones are probably the most prominent women wrestlers on the front.
Yeah,
that Trish front and center.
Trish is half the front cover. I was like, wow, That's cool as fuck. I want that cover.
And Stacy Keibler is bang center, and there's other wrestlers around.
Yeah, and they're fade to black. They're barely noticeable. You kind of notice it's Triple H and notice it's Stone Cold and The Rock, but actually, they're faded almost to black. Where she is this stunning kind of angel with white lights around it. It looks really quite cool.
Yeah.
So, do you want to flow down this list, man? Tell everyone what we have. So, all the times that women have appeared.
The early SmackDown games had Chyna on the front. Tori Wilson managed to grace the US version of SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. The WWF Raw on the 16-bit consoles had Luna Vachon on the front.
Did.
And even a very early arcade game, WWF Superstars. I think this was like the very early 90s. Miss Elizabeth was on the side of the cabinet.
Wow. Because I guess Miss Elizabeth, she was the queen of wrestling. Everyone loved and adored her, and hence the reason why everyone was so fully invested in her marriage to Macho Man, which I guess is considered to be the hallmark of marriages on wrestling shows as a standard. She is the standard bearer.
It was the only nice wedding in wrestling.
Yeah, because every one of them has always got a bit bad, hasn't it?
Yeah, Kane jumps out and starts tombstoning priests and wrecking things, or
someone goes through the cake,
Or Triple H kidnaps the bride and marries her in secret while she's comatose and apparently whispering under your voice, "I sure do." Will apparently do okay for a drive-through wedding. Steph.
Talking of weddings, right? Do you remember the Billy and Chuck wedding?
Yes.
I know.
Yes, I do.
I can remember how big that was. I can remember seeing that on like mainstream magazines where I was working at the time. It was on the front cover of like Cosmopolitan or something of the first gay wedding on national mainstream TV. And I'm like, man, the press these guys have got of this is huge.
Yes.
And if you listen to Eric Bischoff talk about that event, apparently only Eric Bischoff and Vince McMahon knew that he was the priest, and everyone just reacted as is because no one knew. That's genius.
Do you know the hilarious thing was as well? And Eric Bischoff is even said this. He says he knows a couple of the referees at that time because there was still WCW
Like Charles
referees
Robinson and so on,
in WWE. And as he was dressed up as the old man, he knew one of the referees had their children there, and he said he was quite a almost inappropriately mean old man to them. And the referee was like, "Oh, who's this mean old bastard?"
That's great.
He's being mean to his kids, and he had no idea it was him. That was some fantastic makeup work. It was a tremendous angle.
Yeah.
I mean, the effort the WWE put into that. I mean, when the WWE don't want you to know, when they really want a surprise, you are not going to know.
No, they pulled out all the stops in that one. And it's memorable. Right? We're still talking about Billy and Chuck, Billy Gunn and Chuck Palumbo getting married on TV.
That was 2002, 16 years ago. I am old.
Yeah, dude. I was smiling about it and going, yeah, that's like it was 20 years. Crazy bastards. So,
all those rascals.
So, come back to this list, man. What's back on the sensible list of female wrestling?
After the ones already mentioned, there was WWF Betrayal. I think that was on one of the Game Boys. And Stephanie McMahon's on there. After that, it was a series of SNES games from Japan.
Was that like the scrolling beat 'em up one?
I'm not sure. I think it was.
It wasn't quite Streets of Rage, but you kind of went left to right and just beat people up and slap pedigrees on people.
It sounds about right.
So yeah, in terms of the Western releases, WWE has done. It's put some females on its covers, but not really trusted them as their main stars. But I guess it's not really until the Revolution now that women have taken to the forefront of the show, I guess. But yeah, it's quite a surprise how only a few have.
Speaking of women's wrestling as well, our friends in the WWE have decided that they have announced another major match for WWF Evolution. Lita will be facing Mickie James.
Classic match. I was saying that's a rematch from back in the day, or did that not happen? Did they miss each other?
No, it did happen. If you think back, Lita was the retirement match for Trish Stratus, and then 1 month later, Mickie James was the retirement match for Lita.
Wow. And that's got to be what, 2006? 7, yeah. Whew, that's some time ago. And Lita looks as hot as ever, and Mickie is still as talented as ever. Of course, married to Nick Aldis, the former NWA champion.
I know, that is so crazy.
It is. Man,
a good old country western singer.
Yeah, she is quite. I don't know how successful she is, but I guess
apparently her albums did quite well.
But I guess when you got your brand name associated with wrestling, you bring your wrestling fans as well as the country western fans. So I guess it's a win-win all round. And
just don't mention them really early days that she was doing other things.
Is she Canadian?
No, she's American.
Okay,
I'm sure she's American.
Yeah, I got a few friends who live up in Canada where country and western actually is huge. Apparently huge in Canada. No idea why.
Do you know the crazy thing is, country and western music is the biggest genre of music in the world.
It's crazy, isn't it?
What the fuck?
I know.
How is that even right?
Yeah, I guess a bit of Johnny Cash goes a long way, Just, so I'm browsing down these other wrestling titles, right, where women have been featured prominently on the front cover, and I guess you are right. It's it's Fire Pro Wrestling effectively, of the women's edition, because they're on the SNES as the episode we covered a few episodes ago. Fire Pro Wrestling released tons of titles on the SNES. There was lots of different Yoshipuro titles on the SNES, and of course there was lots of female equivalents of those. Queen of Queens, All Star, Dream Slam. I can't even pronounce that. Fire Pro Yoshi, Yoshipuro, and yeah, lots of titles. And so women have not had their fair run in terms of front cover. And it is disappointing that Charlotte perhaps hasn't got to 2K19. But will that change next year, do you think?
Do you know what? I think it might change next year. I'm fairly confident the WWE will go with Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey and main event WrestleMania. And if they do, that definitely one of them two has to be on the cover. I would really think that would be the case.
Yeah, that's true. So do you think the winner of WrestleMania ends up on that cover? Because you know it's going to be Ronda, right? You know she's going to go over.
I would think so. But then again, I thought this year I didn't see Charlotte going over Asuka. I really didn't.
That was a good match as well. I did enjoy that.
It was a very good match. But I really did think that was going to be Asuka's night.
Maybe they're going to throw her on she's on the road to revenge, the road to recovery, and to redemption to win her title for the next year's WrestleMania, perhaps going against someone like Becky Lynch or something.
Well, the WWE did do a bit of damage with her losing clean to Carmella over the SmackDown Women's title. I say clean, underhanded tactics, but she still pinned her.
Yeah, you know the one match I never understood what they did with Asuka? I think it was a second or third match on TV, where she's obviously just been the undefeated NXT champion. She come back, and then she has a match where she fights Emma, who's now left, Emelina, and it's a match where they go toe to toe, hold for hold, as if they're equals. But Asuka does eventually get the pin, but she has to do like a schoolgirl roll up to get the pin in the end. And I'm like, this is the dominant champion Asuka. What the hell did they do with her?
And I think that was Emma's last match as well.
It really was, yeah.
WWE.
Yeah. And
yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, to be honest, Steve Austin thought the same thing when they brought Nakamura into NXT for Sami Zayn.
Yeah, bizarre. Just let's roll over. Why? Give me some consistency. No.
Although Nakamura versus Zayn on NXT TakeOver, it's one of my favorite matches. That was such a good match.
Do you think there's going to be more takeovers now? Now we have the UK NXT as well.
I don't know. It's difficult to say. I don't know if they're just going to bring the UK talent over for the takeovers to give them that US exposure and extend it for an hour, or go all out and just bring more takeovers. Maybe a UK one and then a US one.
Have they done a UK takeover already?
Yes, London.
Right, okay.
I'm fairly sure it was where Finn Balor first retained his title against Samoa Joe.
Okay, that makes sense. So I guess he was like the hometown hero, even though it's the UK, he's Ireland, UK.
Yeah, he came dressed as Jack the Ripper.
Quality. Good. I didn't know that. I should check that out.
Definitely. It's a December event as well. I think it's 2016.
So that reminds
me.
Fairly
sure it was 2016.
So catching SmackDown this past week. So he was the demon again. I really think they should save that. They should save that for them super events where he has to go above and beyond, like the Japanese super avalanche finishers. He should go above and beyond to do his finisher, as opposed to he's the demon again now on TV. Strange.
Demon on TV? No, that was SummerSlam, wasn't it? Yeah, it was
no.
SummerSlam when it went over Corbin. I can see how you'd make that mistake, considering the Finn Balor versus Corbin seems to be this never-ending feud, which
it kind of rolls into each other.
Absolutely no one asked for.
Yeah. Constable, whatever his name is. Constable Corbin.
Although he's now the acting GM of Raw. since they sent Kurt home. I think, well, he's training for some more matches. Yes.
But he's now an antagonistic manager, isn't he? Being the
Yes, of course.
No, we like that. We like guys we want to, because that means we got some face characters who are now going to be fighting and biting and trying to get ahead, and he just keeps chopping them and chopping them down for weeks on end until eventually there's the face that goes over, and everyone just starts cheering.
It's true, and also the fact that the WWE want to make a big deal of Corbin, so it's a good way to get him on TV, get him under people's skin, and he can talk.
He can.
He doesn't do horrible matches. He's not green. It's just that I don't know if anybody else agrees with this, but Corbin versus Balor, it's been done now, and it's done. Can we all move along? Can we all, there's nothing to see here. Everybody just move along.
Yeah, some feuds they burn it really too quickly. It's like, I don't want to see any more of this. It needs to stop.
Yes, there's certain rivalries that can keep going, and you're happy for it to go on. Jericho, Michaels, at any time ever.
Yeah, that goes without saying.
They can have their 1 month event. It's gone over into 4.
It's fine.
Yeah, and we're all good with that. Thank you.
Man, so shall we draw to a close this time round then? Shall we?
Yes.
Shall we bring it to it?
Please.
I think we've covered everything now, so I guess that is us. So, dude, we hope you've stayed with us for our, I guess, what is it, 5th, 6th episode? I don't know. I'm not really keeping count. This is just us going with the flow and what comes to mind. So this is Wrestle DX Alpha. So catch us next time. That's Kev. I'm Kristian, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Yeah, it's women's wrestling, right? It was always it's the snapmare with the hair. Fucking hate it.
The hair,
Hate it. I utterly hate that. Of all moves, hate that the most.